Let's move forward to lighter notes, which is discussing the US men's national team's head coach, Jurgen Klinsmann. So we're talking some soccer here. JR, they came under a tough loss recently. And by tough, I mean it was a rough one to face, losing 4-0 to Costa Rica, a team that were, let's say, an interesting team to watch in the World Cup. They made it past further than what they expected. But then they weren't the same team in the Copa America, proving that perhaps it was a one-hit wonder where they just got the luck of the draw. They had some good players, no doubt, but the Copa America recently in the summer proved that they weren't as good of a team as what people were alluding to, but they just smashed the US 4-0. So I want to get to a quote really quick. This is from Fox Soccer, where they're talking about, I always reference soccer that way. I can't say it without making a joke. So there are some results that cannot be overcome, and losing 4-0 to Costa Rica is one of them. It was the Americans' worst shutout loss in World Cup qualifying since 1957, and the Ticos could have easily scored more. Worst of all, it was the team's second straight loss to open the final round of qualifying, following their defeat to Mexico for the first time home qualifying loss in 15 years, and now the Americans' World Cup hopes are in serious peril.
Like they may not even make it to the Cup.
Yes, they may not make it to the World Cup. I think.
I mean, not awesome, but that's like, whenever I say awesome, it's like that's extraordinary. That's noteworthy.
Yeah.
So I mean,
well, when you don't
celebrating it.
To give a little context as to the process of making it to the World Cup, like so, the United States play in the CONCACAF, which is an organization based on the countries that are relatively close to you. You'll play. The CONCACAF is one of the weakest in terms of competition level. That's just a blatant fact. Mexico are a good team. Costa Rica have their days. The United States should be superior. Like, trust me, I would give my left leg to play in the CONCACAF as Scotland. We have to mix it with Germany, Poland, England. Like,
why are you being biased?
It's not, but it's true, man.
You're going to say the CONCACAF is so weak. Why? What's this bias?
It's simple state facts. It is hard, but this is a question that comes to any sport. Is when things aren't going your way, Jurgen Klinsmann has, I think at this point, has done a great job as a US manager. He's taken them to a level where they can compete. They're considered, they made top 20 in the world on several occasions. They are considered to be a good team. They made it, they were merely one clear bad miss away from making it to the quarterfinals of the World Cup.
Right.
They have, I think in a way, made their case for being a competitive team in the future. But it does pose the other question is, are they getting complacent? Jurgen Klinsmann has fluctuated with his position, his choices, and I wanted to pose it to JR. Do you think it's just a natural fan's reaction when things aren't going their way to blame the coaches?
As a fan of soccer every 4 years, I mean, I guess it's perfect for that because you don't really know what goes into all of it and building up to it. And I think I'm not going to be the guy who disparages American soccer fans because there's actually a lot. And we always have that rep, but it's never going to be to the level. It just isn't. So we're going to have these types of things where we assume, oh, who's the coach now? Because we think of it in the terms of the sports that we understand more.
Yeah.
What's that coach doing now? There's no way it's the player's fault. Oh, well, we don't know the details that goes into things that happen like this. So I'm leaning towards it's not necessarily something you got to clear house, but maybe this is a wake-up call.
Yeah.
Something like this. Sometimes a game when you get blown out like this is a wake-up call.
Yeah.
To do something else, maybe within the organization, but it's not always like when would you fire him?
Yeah, exactly. And that's actually a great point, is that when it comes to international coaches specifically, is you don't have a week-by-week basis to get your players in sync. So that's why I give a lot of credit to international coaches that are able to imply what they want to do in a team in a relatively quick basis, because you get the players for 2-3 weeks before Christmas. Like out of that specific period of time, you have to get them all together, get them tight knit, and get them playing the same system, and then they're off and playing with their club teams and working on systems that they need to adapt and play with them. And of course, they're professionals, and you would expect them to come in, grasp these fundamentals early, and play it forward. But the one flaw that I have had with Jurgen Klinsmann is something that doesn't go along with the ability that you have to work with your players week in, week out. It's just simply acknowledging that the old guard isn't that good anymore. The Michael Bradleys of the world, relying on the Clint Dempseys.
Yeah.
The future is the Christian Pulisic and the young players who are coming in. I don't give two flying hoots whether Christian Pulisic still has to do his homework at night before he goes to bed because he's so young. He's a good player. You don't have that wide a plethora of choices in this team. Play him. He should be playing. I don't care if Borussia Dortmund, his club team, only play him for an odd 10, 15 minutes here or there. They have a large selection of great players. The United States don't, so he should be playing every moment. And Jurgen Klinsmann's coming around to that, but still not enough so. It still took a push and a shove for him to be like, okay, I understand it. We need to start playing the youth a little bit more. So there is points on our side.
Is he like a player's coach? Like he'll take their points of view in more? Like is that the idea? Because again, I'm going to keep associating with other sports that I watch more frequently.
Yeah.
There's always the knock on the player's coach, unless it's working, of course.
Of course.
But then if there's any kind of downfall, they go, oh, this guy just listens to the players too much. He lets them do whatever they want. And we just talked about Phil Jackson and how he tried to mold guys who were big-name guys to play together. He's coached some of the biggest names to play together.
Yeah.
So he has more of a dominant approach to things, and he goes, they're supposed to fall in line. If you allow these guys, like you said, young guys to do more of what they need to do and worry about their personal life too much, you're kind of destroying yourself.
I think Jurgen Klinsmann is not the best man manager. I don't think he works well with grooming players. And again, that's a hard job as an international. It's not that's kind of the club coach's job, because you get these players every single day, and your job in a way is to raise them as a footballer and groom them through the process. So when you're an international coach, you're there to get one job done, and that's get the best group of players you can get imaginable and go forward and win. So the way I sympathize with Jurgen Klinsmann, first of all, because he has the United States don't gift wrap him and develop players, because you talked about it. It's not the number one sport. It's not even the fourth best sport, or it's considered in that realm. Yeah. And every other person in the world gets players coming through the system that's like in Argentina. Yeah, we're going to develop the next Messi. It's inevitable. They already had one previous to him. His name was Maradona, and then they have Messi coming through. Whereas people in the US, like naive fans, will sit there and be like, why don't we develop a Messi? It's so easy. Oh, it is? Well, how come no one else in the world has been doing it then? It just so happens that it is the ability that you've put and the confidence that you give towards the sport that it will come back and pay full-fold, whereas the US hasn't given it that confidence, it hasn't given it the funding, it hasn't allowed more players to develop. So Jurgen Klinsmann comes in and he's thinking, all right, I've got these old guard players who are decent playing in big teams, I'll just put them together and we'll make ourselves hard to beat. And it works to a certain extent. But when those players start to move on, that's where you need to at least put some trust in the youth when you're developing some decent players.
Again, the fan base, the general idea, and again, the one that evokes your American accent is we have this expectation. We're told from birth, you're the best. Yeah. You're better than the rest of the world. Even in a sport that traditionally we don't pay attention to or we don't fuel or develop, we're like, oh, but it's just soccer.
Exactly. And that's the thing, is that I think that this is the point I've made since I stepped foot on this soil. It's not because the sport, like everyone will make all these different reasons, and I love them. They're hilarious. You don't score enough. It's too long. They flop, right? All of those things happen in every other sport. Like we just talked about a 9-6 game in NFL. We talked about how LeBron James has been flopping all over the court for the past 2 years. So those are immediately void arguments. The main reason it doesn't live up to expectation, which is I'm directing to anyone who has any sort of discrepancy. Yes, you, Edwin, as well, who's shared some tweets about soccer not being a sport. The reason, and bear with me, I've talked about this many times, that Americans don't like soccer as much is because you're not the best at it. That is it. If you were the best, you would love it. Because Americans just love to be the best. That's it. You love American football because no one in the world plays it, and you're the best. You love baseball because you play this thing called the World Series, and yes, it doesn't mean the world. I get it. It was based on the paper that was called the New York World or whatever it was. Ben described it to me. Right. But you're still the best in the world at that. And you love basketball because you're by far and away the best in the world. Why is the NHL not as big? It's still big. Oh, because Canadians are actually really good at it. So this is the reality, people. Is if you were the best at soccer, you would love the sport. The funny thing is the US, in terms of the national team, are pretty good. Like that's in comparison to other countries, they're pretty good, but it's still not enough. You have to be number one. You have to be number one. All right, let us know what you think. I love this conversation. It was interesting. Got into a lot of stuff. Make sure to hit us up on Twitter at Jayar Jackson, at Francis_Maxwell. Hit the subscribe button, goes a long way. If you're watching on Pluto, thank you so much. If you're watching on the YouTube channel, make sure to click on the sidebar. You can flick through those videos as they go
USA World Cup champions.
What year?
2018.
2020.
Damn it.
Close.
Wasn't it just...
No, I'm joking. Yeah, 2018.
Oh,
You're right.
Jesus, I knew it was
2018. And do you know when it's played? Russia. The US is going to be welcomed with open arms.